Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Professional Pulse podcast. I'm your host, Alana Carrick. Today, we are discussing a topic that is very important to me. It's things that I wish I knew in my 20s. Although this episode is based around what I wish someone knew in their 20s, it still can relate to those that are in their 30s or 40s, or even if you're older or younger. I really feel I have some controversial takes on some things, and I also want to mention I am still in my mid-20s, so I am not out of my 20s yet. I feel so deeply about this topic, and I wish that I had someone like this, like a sister or a close friend, when I was entering my 20s, and I feel I would have saved a lot of time, money, anguish, emotional energy that never needed to be released in the first place. So grab a coffee, water, tea. If you're on your way to work or on your way home from work, I'm just so glad that you're here, and I'm excited to dive deeper into this topic. The first thing I wanted to start with is comparison. It's going to rob you of time and money. And I'm also going to get into the topic of over consuming because they both play hand in hand. So with comparison, I feel like for me, I compared myself to social media influencers, people that I followed on social media, and even friends that I went to school with that were just entering the workforce. And I would definitely compare myself to them just based off of what I saw on LinkedIn or Facebook. And I felt like I was just never measuring up to a standard that was being displayed off of social media and especially through influencers. And this also led into a bad habit of over consuming products. So I would see influencers and social media people, talking about a certain product, makeup or clothes brands that I maybe weren't purchasing at the time, but I was influenced by them. And what did I think I had to do was spend my young entry-level hourly rate on things that I couldn't afford. And this led into my early 20s being a waste in my financial aspect of my life. And looking back, I can say confidently that I went through that and learned the value of $1 through filing taxes every year and then being like, don't I have anything in savings? So comparison definitely was something that happened early on in my 20s and is something that I reflected on pretty early. I learned that I didn't have to buy clothes every paycheck. It's funny looking back on it, but I used to spend something every payday. And I framed it as, well, I need to work up my workwear because I was going in the office every day at that time early in my career. And I didn't have work clothes. So how I framed it in my mind was, well, why don't every payday you go to TJ Maxx and buy a blouse or a pair of pants? And that was a cycle that I continued in my early 20s. And I was living alone at the time and paying rent and utilities and my car note and my car insurance. So I had responsibilities that I didn't have before. But back then, I just felt like because I had a job and I needed clothes for work, I would treat myself to something every payday. That was not wise at all. I also learned that the clothes that I were buying from TJ Maxx or Marshalls, they weren't quality pieces and they weren't things that I even loved. So I wasted a lot of time and money on things that I didn't really value and or need. And that goes for the same of over consuming with coffee, like going to Starbucks every day. And then also, like, I used to get my nails done back in my early 20s. And these are things that I don't even care about today. It was one tax year and I just sat there like, what did I spend my money on? And that was a time that I was like going to the office every day and I had a commute. It was about 45 minutes to an hour commute, and something I would do to treat myself in the morning before work was going to Starbucks. So I pulled up my fiscal year of that year in the app of how much did I put on my Starbucks card. It was close to $3,000. maybe even more. But I remember just being so shocked when I pulled up just that fact of how much money I was wasting on something that I really didn't need. And, I treat myself every now and then to going to a coffee shop or going to Starbucks, but it is not like a common practice in my life anymore, along with getting my nails done. It was nice while I was engaged and for the wedding to have nice nails, but I do my nails now at home. There are so many Gel X YouTube videos that I have watched to do my nails at home, and the cost of getting the materials to do them at home was significantly lower than what I would spend if I went to get my nails done every month. I mean, of course, everything nowadays is outrageously expensive, and I just valued my dollar more in my mid to later 20s. And, it's a constant practice, to be reminded of a budget and to do your budget every month. That was one of the first things that I recognized in my early 20s, was how much I was comparing myself to other people and the overconsumption of things that I really didn't need. And I really want to emphasize too that you do not need to follow the social media influencers. You do not need to buy everything that they promote to you. For me, I just think about how these people are getting these products to promote for free, and they obviously don't think about you in your entry level position making $15, $25 an hour. They don't think about what you're making in a year. They're just thinking about the ad read that they have to read to get money. So you can't afford it, and that's okay. You do not need to buy everything that's being promoted to you on social media. I went through a huge social media cleanse on my Instagram and YouTube subscriptions, people that I followed, because I didn't want them to influence me anymore. And I knew that for me, if I just kept seeing them in my feed or kept seeing them on my YouTube recommendations, I would fall into that trap. And you can set up ways to not fall into that trap. So it's okay to unfollow them or ignore them and just scroll right past them if you see them come up to your feed. This is a controversial topic, of course, but I, of course, love social media for staying connected to people, but you have to remind yourself that social media is a business for people. It's their livelihood. It's how they make money. And that's just the fact of it. You do not need to buy every single thing that a influencer or social media person is influencing you to buy. Mic drop there. I won't say more on that. Another topic that I quickly learned in my 20s was that I didn't have to act like I had it all together. And this translated into my early 20s, trying to balance my new job, trying to balance my budget and making payments on everything, because that was all new to me. And it's okay that your early 20s is hard. It's going to be hard, but I made it harder by trying to make myself perfect. I'll get into this later about friendships, but I feel like I just wasted a lot of energy and time trying to put up this wall and this facade that no one could break through. That was because I wanted to look perfect on the outside, while on the inside I was trying to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be. And that was a really hard place to be, because in your early 20s, you're trying to figure out what you want for the rest of your life. And again, social media and the people you follow or the people you see in real life, they all can affect the way that you reflect on yourself. And it took me a while to learn that I didn't have to prove to anyone but myself. I had to take that internal time and invest in myself to learn who I am as a person, who I want to display myself as, and how I'm going to do that, and what values matter the most to me. And that's hard, and no one taught me that. So yeah, like the early 20s are just so crucial to developing your foundation of who you are as a person, and that's totally okay. But do not fall into this trap, this comparison trap, or this trap of feeling like you have to be perfect, because you're not, and you don't have to be. So this leads me into like skincare and things that like I really value. So one of the things that I wish someone would have told me in my 20s was that it's okay to splurge on the things that means the most to you. And for me, which I'll get into again with another topic here, which will come soon, but one of the things that I value the most now is skincare and getting a facial every month through a esthetician and spending money on medical spa grade skincare. Now, you do not need to do this, but I want to mention this because I wish someone would have told me in my early 20s that, you're going to be bombarded with things that you need to buy, need to do, but you also can choose to do things and spend money on things that actually changes how you feel about yourself. And for me, I have struggled with cystic acne since I was 11, 12 years old. Now this plays into my PCOS and endometriosis journey, but I have always struggled with cystic acne. And one thing that I wanted to figure out in my 20s was skincare. And it took me until I was 24 to start going to an esthetician, and I have been getting facials every month since through her. And it took me until I was 26 to start purchasing medical spa grade skincare to help with my skin conditions. Now, like I said, I have PCOS, I have endometriosis, and then I also learned in my 20s that I am allergic to a ton of things. So I'm dairy free. I do not eat chocolate, and I am also allergic to nightshades, the food group. So these are all things that I found out in my 20s, as well as my esthetician. Once she started performing facials on me, we also learned that I have perioral dermatitis. So this is a skin condition, a skin rash, and it was something that I noticed in my later teen years, 18, 19, and then in my early 20s. And by the time I started seeing my esthetician, my perioral dermatitis was insane. Like, it was so bad. I could not do anything to calm down my skin. It was inflamed, it was red, it was flaky, and it was painful. So all of those things led to me, seeing her every month and getting a facial every month. And then when I felt more secure in my financial stage of life, I have been investing in a medical spa grade skincare line, Circadia. And let me tell you, I could cry just with how impactful doing this, a facial, and purchasing Circadia products, because it has changed obviously my skin. My skin is beautiful, but also I have also learned the triggers that affect my skin condition, and I have learned the things that trigger my cystic acne. So that was something that I had to value in my 20s, and that's okay. And not everyone is going to have this story or, feel like led to this. But what I would encourage you, anyone in your age, I don't care what age you are, but just find the one thing that you have always felt like you wanted to change, and do it. Do it. Whatever you need to do, just do it. And for me, it was, I no longer want to live with cystic acne. I no longer want to have perioral dermatitis rashes. I will spend whatever money I need to do to fix this issue. And I can say I have fixed it. Now, is it always perfect? No. Do I still break out in a perioral dermatitis rash? Yes, but I know why and I know when, because I probably ate something I shouldn't have eaten. So that was just something that I learned in my 20s, and I just want to put it here because I think that it's important. And people that are struggling with endometriosis, PCOS, perioral dermatitis, I know the struggle is so real. I know that you will spend a lot of money on things that you think is going to fix it, but then it doesn't fix it. It makes it worse. So please invest in someone that is actually trained in skincare and skin conditions, and try your best to find an esthetician or a dermatologist that will care about you and who will be devoted to help change your condition and help support you through figuring out what things trigger your skin and what treatments work best for you. So that leads into prioritizing financial health, because it can be contradictory to talk about the skincare that I purchase and the facials that I get done every month. Now, I will say my esthetician is amazing. She is not, that expensive. She's more on the medium mid-tier in terms of a facial every month. And then Circadia products that I purchase range from my cleanser being about $32, and then my toner spray is like $25. And then the most expensive part of Circadia skincare is sunscreen and moisturizer, which moisturizer is like $45 to $50 and moisturizer is about $60. So I do budget every month to allocate monies towards my skincare budget, because it just is that important to me. But something that I also have just prioritized overall is my financial health in my 20s. Still figuring this out. I learned very quickly that I needed to invest in myself and my future now. You cannot wait to put money set aside for your retirement fund, but also at the same time, this is where I get controversial. You don't always need to put money in your employer's 401k. Now, a lot of factors go into this, and I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial coach. But I will say, if your employer isn't matching your 401k, you do not need to put your money there, especially if you think that you're not going to stay there for your whole career. There are other ways to invest in your retirement other than putting it in your employer-sponsored 401k. I will say that I do have a financial advisor. I have valued this in my 20s. It's something that I think is so important, and it can be very scary even thinking about talking to a financial advisor. So I understand that not everyone's circumstances, financial goals will lead them to a financial advisor in their 20s. For me, my father passed away, so I invested a little bit of money there. I started a business. I wanted to see how I could protect my business. And then also we have, just overall big plans for our retirement and what we want to do in the future, which led me to talking to a financial advisor. So right now, I am not putting any money in a 401k. But I put that money somewhere else where it does accrue, and accrues faster than most 401ks. So, but with all of that, I say that because I did not prioritize my financial health or wealth in my early 20s. Like I said, and the first thing that I mentioned today was I blew so much money on things that didn't have value or have a place in my life. And looking back at how much money I could have invested if I didn't waste that money, my stocks would look great. So how I value my financial health is I budget every month. I have an annual budget that I do with the start of every new year. And then I've really been invested in my monthly budget and seeing what I'm spending and seeing what my sinking funds look like after every month, what rolls over into certain savings buckets. And then I also have a high yield savings account that I put money towards every paycheck, and then every month if there's a certain percentage left over, I'll figure out if I want to put that percentage into my high yield savings account or if I want to put it into a sinking fund. And I have made sinking funds for everything. So I was just reviewing my monthly budget yesterday, and I had money left over from something I did in January. Was I canceled all of my monthly subscriptions. So I'm talking Amazon Video, I had Kindle Unlimited, Hulu, Disney Plus, so many other things that I was shook when I sat down and went through all the subscriptions, because every month I would say, why do I have so much money going towards subscriptions? So February's budget obviously had subscriptions from January, and I realized I have this extra amount every month now from not having to pay subscriptions. So I made that into a new sinking fund of just an extra savings account for whatever. So Yeah, like I value a budget. I value what I'm spending my money on. And if you have a way to cancel subscriptions that you are paying for that you aren't using or that you don't know you're using, cancel them. Like, there is no shame in canceling things that you're not using or that you don't know that you have. I will say Amazon. I didn't know that I had like 5 subscriptions through the Amazon app. I forget what it's called, but it's like when you're on Amazon Prime on your Apple TV or Fire TV, you can subscribe to like Paramount Plus, Peacock, all through like one click through Amazon. And this is how I ended up with subscriptions that I didn't know that I was paying for because I don't use like Amazon Prime Video. And I frankly don't look at my Amazon subscriptions in the app because I just think that we just have the annual Amazon Prime fee. Well, when I looked at it in January, I was wrong. So yeah, I was wasting money on things that I wasn't even using. And then another part of financial wealth and health, and this plays back into comparing yourself to other people, is that you don't have to go to every lunch, brunch, dinner, happy hour with your friends or your work or your family. So this leads me into my next chapter and topic of unapologetically saying no. I am a people pleaser. I love people. It's why I got into my corporate position in the first place of working in HR, working with people. It's why I have my wedding planning business. It's why I'm doing this podcast. So I love people, but at the same time, I have learned that I say yes to too many things. And there's no shame in saying no to things that you don't need to spend your money on. And this is still hard for me because I love people, but also too, I'm learning that not everyone has the best intentions. So this leads me into friends, and you don't need a lot of them. Authentic relationships in your 20s. I actually learned this when my father passed away. I just broke up with friends that I was friends with for 12 years or more. We were actually living together, and then I moved in with Kyle, and not even a month later, my father passed away. And I learned really quickly that those people just weren't my people, and that's okay. But, having a long friendship like that during one of the hardest things I've had to go through and navigate. It was a no-brainer once the event happened, why that friendship wasn't, valuable. And then after my dad passed, it was like, I don't need those people in my life, and that's okay. And that's a hard truth and a hard thing to swallow. Also, I feel in my early 20s, like you just stay connected with people because you grew up with them and you know them so well. But you're going to see as you evolve in your 20s, people move away, you might move away. You just might value something that you didn't value before, and then that alone, like your values and what you invest in and what you think of separates you and divides you. And it's okay to end relationships, and it's okay to end friendships that just aren't worth it. Don't waste your valuable time and money on people that wouldn't do the same investment in you. So I would say my mid-20s, I really knew the people that I wanted in my life because we had a transactional relationship. And I don't mean this in like, I'm only friends with them because we give each other money or we do this and this together. I'm saying that because some friendships can be just a one-way street. And if the other person isn't putting, what you're putting in back to it, then I have to ask you, why are you friends with them? So a friendship should be a two-way street. And in that sense, it should be transactional and it should not be reactionable. It's okay to not have the same values or believe in the same beliefs as the other person as you are evolving in your 20s, because you are changing and everyone around you is changing at this age too. And it can be a shock. It can really come out of nowhere of realizing we just don't get along anymore, and that's okay. But it can take time to let that go because you do cherish that friendship because like I said, you've been friends for a long time. You grew up with each other. But that's going to be some internal questioning and thinking over a lot of things. That's going to be what you need to do. You're going to need to take the time to evaluate your friendships and really list out the people that you have in your life and if you see them in your future. Another topic I wanted to discuss today is something that I value so much now that I'm in my later 20s. I couldn't put this as a value in my early 20s because it just wouldn't have been feasible. But something that I would tell someone in their 20s was that there is going to be a time where you're going to have to value travel and just investing in yourself and going somewhere new. I wish someone would have told me that it's okay to value travel and it's okay to spend money and take your time off that you have earned through your work and go somewhere. And it doesn't have to be elaborate. For me, I find the most joy in a trip that involves an airplane. So I like to go far away, somewhere warm and somewhere tropical most of the time. And that's just where I find the most joy. But I just wish someone would have told me that it's okay to be selfish in that sense, because it can feel selfish being in your early 20s and your mid 20s to say, hey, like I am going to take the money that I'm making and invest it in a trip. Something I wish someone would have told me in my early 20s was that it's okay to take the time off that you have earned from your job and to go somewhere and just travel, see something new. And there can be a thrill in that. And also, it can be a learning experience for you as well. I learned so much about myself and who I am as a person and who I want to be when I return home when I am traveling. It's just what I need emotionally and physically to be somewhere new and to, relieve stress and to leave work at home. Do not take work with you. There is no job worth doing that for. And that's a hard lesson to learn. And that is why I wish someone would have told me in my 20s that, girlfriend, take the trip and leave work at home. So I value traveling to see family, and I value traveling with my husband. Something that works best in our house is planning for the year ahead and having trips basically planned out before, it comes around. So we have a trip planned in April. We tentatively have a trip planned in December. And then every holiday, we're always with our family. Take your time off and go travel, go somewhere new. Like I said, it will show things to you that you didn't even know that you care so much about until you take that trip and you're disconnected from work. Like that's, at least for me, what happens. And then you're able to reflect on, who you are and how you're feeling when you are on that trip. You might feel immediate relief and immediate relaxation, and that is what travel is for. It's so important, and I encourage you at any stage of your life to take a trip every year. And like I said, it doesn't have to be far. It doesn't have to be a tropical vacation. It doesn't have to be a trip that involves an airplane, but put that value of, traveling into perspective and see what comes from it. I just wanted to end this episode with gratitude. I am just so grateful for the things that I've learned in my 20s and being able to share this with you all today. And like I said, even if you aren't in your 20s, I hope that this was encouraging. And I'm so appreciative of the people that I have in my life and the job that I have and the business that I run and the people that support me on the back end of things. I would not be who I am today if I haven't gone through the experiences that I've gone through, like losing my father and the things that I've witnessed growing up. And I just want to share this because, I think that that's something that you're going to learn in your teens is, trying to figure out, again, like who you are as a person. And some of that is hard to go through because you are recognizing patterns that you saw growing up and things that you don't want to repeat in your 20s or in your future. And for me, it was valuing myself as a person in my 20s and valuing my financial health. I think myself and wealth were two of the biggest things that I had to really take the time and open up things that were hard to discover. And I think that is just your 20s. It is hard. It can be very emotional at times, and it's not easy. I'm just so grateful that I'm on this platform to share this with you. And I hope that this feels encouraging and like I am right behind you, cheering you on, because it is not easy. And this is exactly what I would want someone in my early 20s to have said to me. So I'm saying it to you. And I think the more that we open up about these things and the more that we tune into those values, the more that we're able to evolve as a person. So keep believing in yourself and keep investing in yourself. It doesn't have to be financial. Like I said, it can really just be emotionally investing in yourself. And I think that is something that isn't talked about enough. And it's okay to talk about because it is so important. And it also involves the people around you and the people that support you. If you aren't feeling supported or valued in your friendships, I hope that you can recognize that you are worth being cared about and cared for. And there is no shame letting go of things that aren't bringing you joy or bringing you satisfaction. Stop wasting time and energy and money on people and things that don't matter. You matter, and your future matters, and who you are today matters. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Professional Pulse podcast. I'm your host, Alana Carrick. You can find us on Instagram at Alana Carrick and at Professional Pulse Podcast. And you can also follow us on YouTube at Professional Pulse Podcast. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.